What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the corner. I'm the DM as always, and now I'm going to look at this exclusive gameplay. Uh, I've not seen this. This was uploaded more than a week ago, but I'm not subscribed to IGN. I haven't seen it. I gave it a preemptive like because the last video I watched made me cautiously interested in it. But I want to see some more gameplay. Now, I'm hoping this starts with character creation so we can see some of that. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to look through. In fact, I'm going to do that real quick. So IGN doesn't have one on their channel, but this person does. So I'm going to check this out later after this. But we'll see if the character creation is in this. And if it is, then I don't need to watch the other one. Although I might just... because it's a full break.
What's up, everybody? I'm Kat Bailey, and this is our extended look at Dragon Age the Veilguard's gameplay. I'm here with BioWare lead developers Corinne Bush and John Epler. Corinne, what are we looking at today?
Hey, y'all. So today, we're going to be helping out one of our companions, Davrin. This is part of his personal arc to rescue the Griffins, long thought extinct. We're going to take a quick journey through the lighthouse, your base of operations. We're going to head into the Crossroads and make our way to the dark swamps of Hossberg wetlands.
So you're in the lighthouse, as Corinne mentioned. This is your base of operations that you inherited willingly or unwillingly from Solus. It is located in the Fade. It's where Solus was able to start planning his rebellion against the Elven gods millennia ago. Right now, you and your team have occupied it, started to build it, started to shape itself around your personality. As Corinne mentioned, we are going to go talk to Davrin, who is located up above, and each of these spaces kind of shapes itself around your companions as they live there, as they basically spend their arcs in those rooms.
So they mentioned something which I find curious. They say that you willingly or no inherited this place from Solus. What exactly does that mean, though? Like, did he give it to you? Did we steal it from him?
And we see here the glowing light above indicates Davrin's ready for us. Let's check in with him.
Something wrong?
Got a message. A place called the Cauldron was attacked.
That's some sort of Grey Warden tavern.
It's a secret Warden readout. No idea what goes on there.
Then why are you involved?
Because whatever attacked it sounds like the Gloomhowler.
So earlier in Davrin's arc, you were introduced to his nemesis, the Gloomhowler, creature that's been hunting and stalking Wardens for quite some time. It's kidnapped a bunch of other Griffins. Davrin has been trying to track it down. Now he's got a lead, so we're going to go find this and go track this thing down.
Now, Davrin, he prefers the direct approach. We're going to choose a tough response.
So I like that they tell us more about this, because obviously we don't know what the fuck a Gloomhowler is or why we should care. So I'm glad that they elaborate on that, and it tells us that we will have a reason to care, and it will be built up. It's not just something that's thrown on us.
See if we can get his approval.
Then let's get rid of it.
Had the same thought. What's left of the Wardens are still licking their wounds. So we handle this alone. Just go to the Cauldron and get the Griffins back. You have to promise to behave, boy. Listen to every word I say, stay out of trouble, don't do anything dumb, and don't eat any.
I think we get the point.
Lancet and Remy told me there's a word for the bond between a Griffin and Warden moving as one. Turlum. Until Hassan and I have that, I'm supposed to keep him safe.
I have to say that I find the Griffin adorable.
And very importantly, I know this is a question on everyone's mind. Yes, you can pet Hassan.
Well,
I'm not going to lie, that was something that I was thinking about right now. Is like, but can we pet it? Yes, it's adorable, but can we pet it? So I'm glad we can pet it.
Goodness for that. And all right, what are we going to be doing next?
He's up for this.
All right, we're going to finish getting this information from Davrin on the Gloomhowler, and we'll be off to Hossberg and the Crossroads.
Between Warden and Griffin starts by having faith in each other.
Maybe. I suppose you were born for this sort of fight, boy. All talons and temper.
I hope there aren't
sharp
any
tongue to
edit
remind you
cuts,
of it.
actually.
As long as he backs it up.
Because I want to see how long, like, the loading
So I
screens
assume
are
that
and
Hassan
everything.
can be helpful during the gameplay.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, a lot of Davrin's abilities revolve around calling Asan in the heat of battle. I in particularly love when you're going against enemies, you see Asan swoop down.
Now, I know in the last video, and I'm going to be pausing a lot for anyone who isn't aware, but I'm not going to lie. I know last time, in my last video, I said that I kind of wish there were less companions and a larger party size, but I kind of wish Hassan was a party member on his own. Like in Dragon Age Origins, we had the Mabari Hound that if you saved him, you could just put as a companion. Now, granted, I thought he should work more like a follower when you added him to the party, but I mean, maybe that's how it works here. And like when you like he's just there with Davrin. And if that's the case, totally fine. But if he's only there during like certain attacks, it's gonna be a little disappointing, I'm not gonna lie.
Especially if it triggers a combo between your companions.
As Corinne mentioned earlier, one of the interesting, fun things we've done is if you see the lights on in a room, companions have something to say. You can see Harding up in that space there, Nev behind you as well, and Belara. But we have a mission ahead of us. We're going to go find the Gloomhowler if we can, and we're going to go through the Crossroads in order to do that. And the Crossroads, if you've played previous Dragon Age games, Trespasser in particular, is a location in the Fade that contains a number of alluvians, allowing you to travel across Thedas in a map.
I know he's in the middle of something, but I really hope that we can sprint in here, because if not, this movement speed is really fucking bad. It's so slow. So I really hope we can sprint, and not like that Inquisition sprint, which was like a very light jog. I hope we can actually just sprint.
Matter of minutes, but at this point, the Crossroads are under assault by the other elven gods. It's a dangerous place, and we are going to be in for a bit of a fight.
And this alluvian, the Bir of Voss, is the central focus point of the lighthouse. This is going to take us to Solas's pocket area of the Crossroads, and it might look a little bit different from what you've seen in Trespasser.
Can you tell us a little bit about the role that the Crossroads plays in the structure and the gameplay?
Yeah, so the Crossroads is, again, it's the area that you spend a lot of time traveling through as you go from area to area. It's also a space that has, at one point, served as Solas's main base of operations and training ground for his rebellion against the Elven gods. So as you go through it, you're going to find fragments of the past, the things that Solas had done previously that are going to give you a bit of insight into Solas as a character, but also into the Elven gods and their motivations.
Some of my favorite content that you'll find if you go exploring in the Crossroads is these opportunities to actually relive some of the memories Solas had during his rebellion. You actually get to take part in this ancient rebellion.
And here we have the Caretaker, a mysterious spirit that was actually here before Solas was and started to help Solas with his rebellion, but also to turn this into a safe haven for spirits. Again, as I mentioned before, the gods are assaulting the Crossroads, so it's no longer the safe haven it once was, but you're going to work with this Caretaker through quite a large amount.
So he's talking, but I just want to point out, and this is a very minor thing, right? This isn't like super important or anything. This is just a small continuity error. When they're sailing away here, you can see the Caretakers at the front of the ship, but
Even
here
for spirits.
we can see that
again, as I mentioned before, the gods are assaulting the Crossroads, so it's no longer the safe haven it once was. But you're going to work with this Caretaker through quite a large amount of ancillary content to rebuild this into that safe home for these creatures. That if anyone knows Solas, he has a tremendous amount of affection for spirits.
All right, now we're going to get into combat here, and this time we're playing as a mage. Now, mage is one of my favorite classes to play. It's primarily a ranged attacker, and when we're surrounded by swarming darkspawn, I really have to use a variety of strategies to control the battlefield. I'm going to use my...
So we can see back there, he has his companions, but we don't have health bars for them. That makes me really concerned. It makes me concerned that if you die, it's just a flat out game over. And like that's just the end of it, because we can't take full control over our companions. And the fact that they don't have health bars makes me concerned that they are functionally immortal. and as a result, you could just do literally nothing and the game will play itself. If this is all the case, this is going to be a terrible game.
Heavy charged attacks to knock down these ghouls, get them out of the way. And of course, Darkspawn are vulnerable to fire. So we made sure to equip our fire staff, have our fire abilities on hand.
You may notice something about the Darkspawn too, is that they look a little bit different than they have previously. And part of that is because Gillinane, who has always been focused on using the Blight as essentially as crafting material, a way to alter life itself, has been enhancing and changing these Darkspawn as part of her army.
So this doesn't really make any sense. The Blight, at least from what I understand, maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, comment down below and let me know. But from what I understand, the Blight is something that comes when an archdemon is created. Like in the very first game, the reason why a Blight started and the Darkspawn began to rise to the surface again was because there was an archdemon that rose, and then you fight it at the end. It's this big giant dragon. It's really cool, really awesome. But the Blight itself is just a term for when the Darkspawn are starting to attack because an archdemon is formed. It's not like a thing that infects you and then you become a Darkspawn or anything like that. That's not how that works. Again, I could be wrong, but that's how it functions from my understanding. So that whole, oh, she's using the Blight to transform them, that makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Corinne, I noticed that you were doing a combo opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the role that plays in the actual combat?
Yes. So the combat system in this game, the deep strategy behind it is really to manage the various abilities your companions and Rook have in concert. So in this case, Harding has a combo opportunity with Shred. It's going to apply the Sundered effect and deal a high amount of stagger. Now you'll notice I can combo that with Rook's ability Spirit Bomb. That's going to cause a detonation combo.
So again, one of the things you'll notice about the terrain here is it's very snowy, very mountainous. The Crossroads is a realm that reflects the waking world. In this case, it's an amalgamation of all the real world spaces that are tied to it. In the case, we've got Hosper, we've got other mountainous regions. So it's kind of this mix of the swamp. And as you'll see, as we move towards these alluvions, the architecture around them very clearly reflects what's on the other side. We're not going to spoiler and tell you exactly what's on the other side, but you maybe make a few guesses based on what you're seeing.
So this is good because this area is the Fade. This is in the Fade. And the Fade is just an alternate version of reality. It's kind of like a parallel universe, effectively, where the Fade is structured to emulate the real world. It's not an exact one-to-one. There are differences when you get into the Fade, just like we see here. But it is effectively just a mirror of the real world. So it's nice. This is a nice touch to see that it reflects the areas that connect to it.
Do I have to do the Crossroads, or can I just fast travel right through?
So it depends how you progress through the game. The first time you go to any of the new regions in the world, you'll traverse the Crossroads to get there. Subsequent times, we of course support fast travel, but it behooves you to actually go back and explore the Crossroads, as some of the deepest secrets lie within.
So now you're in Hosper Wetland.
Good. So from what we saw there of the Crossroads, it seems like a pretty densely packed area, but it also seems very linear. So to see that they're like, yes, you can just fast travel, but if you explore the Crossroads after you've unlocked it, then you can find more lore and more things within. I like that. That is good. It rewards exploration, and it makes it so that these densely packed areas that seem linear are not so linear, and that they will reward you for exploring them.
An area that has been
That is something that is very similar to the original Dragon Age Origins, where all of the areas were pretty dense with their content, and at first don't seem very open and very large. I mean, some of the areas do, but like the I can't remember what the forest is called, but it's the first forest after you get to the Grey Warden camp. You go in and it's a pretty large area, all things considered, but when you're exploring, everything you go to, every point of interest you go to has something, and it has I don't want to say meaningful content, but it rewards you for that exploration with either lore tidbits or like something that you can sell for a decent amount of change.
Almost completely consumed by the Blight. The Grey Wardens have set up an outpost here. Again, if you know anything about the Grey Wardens, they fight the Blight anywhere they see it, and they're noticing something strange is going on here. The Blight is not behaving as they expected to, and as it historically has. So they've set up shop in this place called Lavendel, and you are here to work with them, help them out, and help them find an answer to the questions about the Blight that they're asking.
Tell me a little bit more about this area. It looks a little bit like a hub where you can get a lot of quests and things like that.
That's right. So here we find one of the bases of the Grey Wardens. So you'll see they've really built up a small fighting force here to hold off the Darkspawn. What's more, the Grey Wardens are a faction we're going to be working with throughout the game. We've got Holden, one of the Grey Warden quartermasters. We're actually going to upgrade his shop.
Holden sounds familiar. I want to say he was in other games. Hang on. Nope, can't find anything. Never mind.
One of the Grey Warden quartermasters. We're actually going to upgrade his shop and see what items he has in store for us. See if maybe it gives us an edge in combat.
I wonder if ranking up his shop refreshes his inventory, or if it just adds new items.
And the Grey Wardens, much like the other factions, they understand the stakes of the gods being out. They want to help you, but you need to help them first. They have, again, as Corinne mentioned, they're holding off the Darkspawn here. They have other priorities, so getting them more powerful allows them to more meaningfully contribute to your fight against the elven gods.
So where are we going next?
All right, so we're heading out of the Grey Warden Fortress into the small town of Lavendel. Now, this used to be a beautiful place full of life, flowers, and you can see what effect the Blight has had. But the residents are still here. They're trying to make the most of their lives, and you can see there's plenty of opportunities to help them. In fact, we're going to quickly check in with Finn the physician and see what he has in store for us.
So Flynn, again, one of the focuses of this game is characters, not causes.
I've been busy with patients, but I'm short on medical supplies. My mentor, Oscar, he should have some. He has a cabin outside the village. If you're out there, tell him you saw Flynn, and they could use his help.
And Flynn is a warden who you will do quests with. We wanted to make sure that the side content of Dragon Age: The Veilguard felt as meaningful and tied to the overall conflict of the game as anything else you do. We don't want you to just go off and do random tasks. Everything needs to feel meaningful, either contributing to your fight against the gods or contributing to the growth of your companions and the factions that you need at your side to stop the gods.
You look a bit worried.
We're not sure where some of our wardens are, Beckett and a few others. We're supposed to check in. We need to look out for each other more than ever. It's just, I know they took Weishaupt hard, and I hope they're okay.
All right, so we picked up a couple of quests in Lavendel, but we're here to help Davrin. So we're going to make our way through the perils of Hosberg and try to get to this Warden Fortress of the Cauldron.
Seeing a lot of kind of organic matter. I suppose that's the Blight.
Absolutely. So the Blight at this point, as mentioned before, the Wardens understand it's changed. It's become a lot more organic, a lot more alive. You're back in Dragon Age 2, Inquisition, Origins. The Blight, while it was a slow-moving wall, it didn't have this almost sentience, this almost thought behind it. And obviously, we've talked about how the gods that are.
I don't know if that's true. The like slow moving wall, I understand that. That's supposed to represent the dark spawn, at least from what I understand. But to say that there was no sentience to it, I mean, the whole reason the blight starts is because there's supposed to be an archdemon behind it. And archdemons, they're just intelligent darkspawn. That's all they are. That's what Corypheus was an intelligent darkspawn. That's why that blight started, was because there was an intelligent darkspawn.
Are blighted. That probably has something to do with it, and it's made this area far more.
From what I know, I'm pausing a lot. From what I understand, or from what they're saying, it seems like maybe the information we were given was accurate at the time, but there's more to the blight than the Grey Wardens knew, which I don't know how plausible or believable that really is. Because Grey Wardens are like the only thing, allegedly, that can fight the Darkspawn and win. Because they're immune to the taint of the Darkspawn because they've ingested it already, and that's how they became Grey Warden. So to say that like they didn't know this when they're the only ones that have been fighting and well, not the only ones that have been studying it probably, but they're like the ones who have studied it, the ones who know what the blight is. So to say that they just didn't know this was how it could work is weird. But maybe it goes into it some more. We don't. They never said exactly how far into the game this is, so maybe it's discussed and talked about more. And they're like, "Oh yes, maybe it's like evolved, right, and become more than what they thought it was, or something like that." I don't know. It could have been altered because of the elfin gods, right? Making like coming and attacking the Crossroads or something like that.
More dangerous than it would have been before.
And you might notice as we get into combat with some of these darkspawn that they do look a little bit different than before, and that's very intentional. Gillenane, the god of monsters, she uses blight like a medium to sculpt and warp the darkspawn to do her bidding, to suit her purposes.
So right now you'll see a couple of Hurlocks, one with some pretty disgusting growths on its back. Again, the idea that the Darkspawn and the Blight is an organic weapon. They're not just coming out and,
That ability gave you so many iframes? That's insane. But I like that. I would rather them just give you a bunch of iframes and let you get the ability off than to start the ability and then get interrupted and be like, well, that was pointless. Never using that ability again, because that's how I would be. Especially if it's like a channeled one, and like one hit just means you wasted the ability, I would never use it. I would just remove it from my hotbar.
Making swords, making armor, they're using the blight to augment themselves so they can more effectively defeat you and also give the gods the world that they desire.
All right, now I'm actually going to switch to my Orb and Dagger on the mage. And those of you that were fans of the Knight Enchanter in Dragon Age Inquisition, you might feel right at home with this. This is a more melee-focused, more agile version of the mage. One of the main mechanics here is you can use this elemental orb to apply stacks of elemental damage to the enemy and then unleash them with your dagger to detonate them.
So, again, we're in, you'll notice that there are blight pools. The Darkspawn aren't just coming out of nowhere. The blight is spawning them. Again, part of Gillenane's attempt to turn this into an army for the gods is to use these Darkspawn, not just, again, whereas you have the Venatori and the Antam, one case representing magical power, in the other case representing physical strength, the Darkspawn are representing overwhelming force.
That was a pretty clutch heal a little earlier, by the way.
You know, we've talked at length before that our fans have asked us, where is the healing magic? Can you bring it back? And Nev in this game, happy to oblige with a kit of healing spells.
I hope Nev isn't the only healer. Like, me as a mage, I hope I can have access to healing myself. Because like in the original games, I didn't really like Wynn, who was like one of the only mages you got. So whenever I would play a mage, I would just never use her, and I would just dip into getting the healing spell just so I could have my own heal.
So one of the interesting things that I love about our companions is each of them, their abilities, the way that they're built, they're very thematically appropriate to the character. They're very focused on making sure that the gameplay and the narrative are as closely aligned as possible. In the case of Nev versus Vlar versus Amrik, our mages, each of them has a healing ability that is thematically appropriate to them. It makes sense when you know them as a character.
Okay.
Watching you play,
that's good that everyone has a type of healing. Now, I hope the numbers are as thematic as the ability, right? I don't want all of the healing abilities to just do the exact same amount. Because that's just really lazy and boring.
I'm struck by sort of the size and the scope of this particular area. It seems like there's a lot of exploration that I can be doing right here.
That was really one of our goals with these areas. Of course, we are a mission-based game, but we really emphasize player autonomy. You can revisit these spaces. They're full of secrets, puzzles, some pretty incredible bosses and treasure. And of course, as we saw earlier in Lavendel, some really narratively rich side quests.
One thing that's interesting is you'll find we're going on a quest for Davrin, but Davrin is not currently in our party. That's because Davrin has gone ahead of us and is waiting for us at the Cauldron. This is, again, we want the followers, the companions, to feel like they have autonomy, and while they won't complete the quest on their own, they will go ahead and get things ready. So when you get there, you can you talk to them, you'll have a conversation with them, and it feels like they're as invested in the success of their journey, their stories, as you are.
That's good. I like that, but one thing that I hope is that the companions you bring are like you can choose them, right? Like I hope that if I were to take on this mission, I could have different companions than Nev and the other one. I forget her name off the top of my head. I hope I can have like Varric and another companion, for example. But I also hope that when you go to choose them for this mission, that Davrin is not selectable. Like he's there on the party menu or whatever, but he's like grayed out or whatever.
This looks like a pretty contiguous zone. Is that right?
It is, yes. So it's full of brand.
And I don't think I touched on this, but I also like what he said about the exploration of the zones, because all of these zones do feel very tightly packed and tightly condensed. But from what I'm seeing, it does look like there's a lot of exploration that you can do, even immediately when you first get there. And that's something that was in the original game, Dragon Age Origins, which, when I think about it, really did have this kind of approach where each area was effectively its own mission. But you could go back to them and explore them later. Now, another thing that the original did was after certain story points and story beats, when an area would change for some reason, you could go back and the things that you could get and the people that you see there are different as well. So I hope that's also the case.
Branching paths, different areas to explore. And what I love is the more content you do in the area, the more shortcuts you're going to discover. You're really going to have a lot more flexibility in how you navigate between your remaining missions and quests.
Well, I think something really interesting, too, about the way that our team has built these spaces is there's the idea of each space has its own story to tell. And while those quests, we talked earlier about those quests and side quests being narratively relevant, they also contribute to a more of a meta story about the space itself. So in the case of Hosper, we talked about how this is an area surrounded by blight, and you're kind of getting to the center of what exactly is going on in Hosper and Lavendel, and these quests that you do and the content Corinne is currently engaged in helps to tell that story.
All right. We can see our companions are up here attacking this dark spawn on their own. Let's give them a quick hand.
I wonder what this is.
All right.
What this is, because this is making some kind of like alert noise. This like me.
Right, and I love positional gameplay, making use of the environment to your advantage.
And I just saw that you could do a takedown move, so it's kind of a finishing move.
You can. Now, in this particular build, I'm really focused on using necromantic energies to siphon life force. But if I, for instance, wanted to go the stagger route, I could go a full takedown build if I like. It's a really powerful, heavy-hitting style of gameplay.
All right. So you'll notice Davrin is waiting for us. So let's see what he has to say. Hassan flies in.
Yeah, a bad day at the Cauldron.
What could do that?
Where's the other?
What have they been hiding inside?
So this is a small continuity, and I mean, I guess not really all that small. But so Neri is in this cutscene, but the dwarf companion is not. And what's probably gonna happen is Davrin replaces her, but I would like for them to like have her here, and when y'all are going forth, her be like, "I'll stay behind and cover your rear," or something like that, just to have like an in-lore, inter-universe reason as to why she just vanishes.
Hide.
So something tore through the gate. That's probably not great.
Oh, I would also like for you to be able to choose which one stays behind. Because the dwarf might be more important than the mage, for example.
Looks like we should probably get moving.
Considering you are also a mage.
We won't find out standing around here.
Be ready for anything.
So because we don't have Davrin in our party, he's going to move ahead and wait for us while we bring Nev and Harding along to...
Okay, so this just makes it even worse. Because Davrin's not joining your party. But Harding, I thought that was her name, but I wasn't sure. So Harding wasn't in that cutscene. This just makes that even worse. Why wasn't she in the cutscene if he's not replacing her in the party?
Clear a path for ourselves to find Davrin and get to where he is.
Can you talk a little bit about how Nev and Harding sort of synergize during the combat?
Yeah, so Nev and Harding, Nev is a mage, Harding is a rogue, and each of the classes, and you can build a party entirely of one class if you want, but the idea is that the classes synergize and they can set up and detonate each other's abilities in a very interesting way. Now, because you have a lot of freedom in how you build your character, you can, again, as said, you can have all rogue.
So I noticed this the last time it happened, but yeah. So right here you can see
freedom in how you build your character.
He has almost no health left.
You can, again, as
he
said,
gets hit. You cannot see the health on his health bar, but he didn't die. Why? This is something that the game needs to give you feedback on. Maybe it's this eclectic armorer thing. I don't know. But the fact that he didn't die makes me concerned.
You can have all rogue party, all mage party, all warrior party. It still works. But in this case, Nev and Harding are very effective at setting up and detonating, in this case, as Corinne's going to show.
So we're in danger here, and this is really what I love about the tactical layer of combat. If you get in that clutch situation where you've got this devastating incoming attack, great time to pause gameplay, weigh your options, and in this case, I'm going to go back to our combo here and see if I can just quickly get out of the way.
Yeah. The animation, I like this because the animations are fast. And they're fast enough that you can get those iframes. And you don't get the iframes like after it actually starts, you get them immediately.
All right. You can see I've applied siphoning to these enemies, so I'm actually going to be leeching their health when I use my mage beam. Now you'll notice there's blight boils throughout the area, and that's part of our philosophy on the combat encounters. If I don't destroy these blight boils, ghouls are going to continue to emerge. So I'm really focused on what targets do I take down first. This enemy is a little bit weaker. I think I'm going to have my companions focus on them while I deal with this grenadier that's...
I do like that. I like that you can have them focus a specific target and while you go off and do something else, or you can have them each focus different targets. So you can make them actually focus the things that they're strong to fight against.
Giving me some problem.
Yeah, I will say, and that's, I'm not on the sick. Kryn is much better at this game than I am, and this
you say?
I don't know, man, because we've been watching him. He does not seem all that great at this combat. So if he's better than you, that's pretty bad.
Well, most of the time, yes, 100%. But each enemy, again, really leaning into the organic. What I love about the Grenadiers is they basically rip off pieces of themselves and throw them at you, which explode as blight. And again, really leaning to the idea that the blight is organic and disgusting.
He got to like no HP.
One thing that I'm noticing is that the combat encounters can get pretty intense. You end up fighting a lot of different enemies. You can absolutely die if you're not careful.
Yes, and this, as we mentioned earlier, this is...
If you're not careful.
Yes, and this... as we mentioned earlier, this is well into the game, so combat counters have really ramped up, and it really shows the importance of positioning, using your companions wisely, and looking for those...
So they have to have some kind of like dev mode on where he can't die, because he absolutely just got hit there with no health and didn't die.
Synergies and combos.
Okay.
Now this is interesting. We just went down. We've built our companions to be able to come to our aid.
So this is something that I was afraid of, is that when you die, it's just immediate game over. I don't like this. This was bad when it was in Final Fantasy 13, and it's bad here. Just immediately game overing when one person dies, when you have other people that can still revive and do shit, has always been a fucking stupid thing.
We're actually going to use a revive here. And Nev to the rescue.
And as Corinne mentioned, this is later in the game, and Hossberg itself is what I would consider a later game area, and the encounter is a little bit more challenging. It's a more dangerous space. This shows up in the encounter, but it also shows up in the visuals, the storytelling here. This is a place that you don't want to be. You don't want to be in Hossberg. It is full of darkspawn, full of blight, and generally not a pleasant place to be.
Well, we'll be able to explore more of the Cauldron when Dragon Age the Veilguard comes out on October 31st. In the meantime, we are going to be continuing on with our IGN First coverage of Dragon Age for the rest of September and for everything that's great about games and RPGs.
Okay, so overall, the gameplay looks solid enough. It looks interesting. But the game over when your character dies is concerning. There were a lot of instances where he got hit with like no health but didn't die, which is confusing. And the companions, the lack of direct control over them is concerning. And so, yeah, overall, again, still like cautiously interested, but it's got some design choices I just don't think are good. Because like in every other Dragon Age game, if your character goes down, your companions continue fighting, and it's not game over. You just take control of one of them, you keep fighting, and at the end of combat, you get up with some wounds or whatever. So I don't know. Also, I'm gonna have to take a look at this because I want to see what the character creation is like. So yeah. Anyways, that's all for this video. Thank you all for coming to my corner. I have been the DM as always. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Hit subscribe. If you didn't like the video, hit dislike, leave a comment, let me know why, and I will see you all next